The Honourable Deputy Leader of the National Party.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. My question without notice is to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, given the public uproar over proposed imports of beef from the United States, is it a fact that an American beef importer can buy American cattle at prices 60% higher than he would pay in Australia, process the beef in American abattoirs, transport it to the seaboard and across their wharves, ship it across the Pacific, move it across our notoriously expensive waterfront and distribute it in Australia, and the American beef would still be cheaper than the Australian product?
Right.
Does the Prime Minister therefore agree with the Industry Commission report, which says that Australia is not competitive in this major industry, our largest agricultural export industry, because of outdated and inefficient work practices as well as excessive government taxes and charges? Prime Minister, if we cannot outperform the American...
Member for Patterson.
Prime Minister, if we cannot outperform the American beef industry in our own domestic market because of failed microeconomic policy, how can we possibly reach our potential in Asia?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I thought a couple of simple observations by the Deputy Leader of the National Party would basically bring some truth to him. That is, we are a major exporter of beef to the United States. We are a major exporter of beef to Japan.
The Deputy Leader has asked the question. Listen to the answer.
I take it this is a veiled criticism of the industry he claims to represent. That is the graziers. So he's saying this is. Well, I mean, I wonder. You know, I keep wondering why whenever I run into farm leaders, they refer to you, National Party people, as hillbillies or hobos. And the reason is because you keep attacking their interests. And you keep attacking them. And you keep attacking them. Instead of helping them in the drought, you want to work for the people who are selling fodder. As I said to you, one farmer said to me, well, you can't eat the fodder. How are we going to feed our families? Not on fodder. Obviously, that's the that's the view of the National Party. And now, Mr Speaker,
Member for Gippsland.
Mr Speaker, given that we are now turning around, we've got turnaround times and cargo handling times in our ports, which are the equivalent of the European ports like Rotterdam. And that we've seen many commendatory comments from wheat growers about changed conditions in terms of the shipment of wheat, then your remarks can only be a criticism of the producers. And as a consequence, Mr Speaker, it doesn't surprise me that you are so perverse now that you don't know who's on your side or who you're representing. So, Mr Speaker, yeah, I mean, that's right. Well, you know that song, I got my mojo working? Well, we've got our mojo working over there, working hard for us. Mr Speaker, it's very clear to us that the competitiveness of Australia has come from a number of things.
Order.
From a competitive exchange rate system, which the Coalition never had the courage to introduce. And remember this, Mr Speaker, that a lot of the competitiveness of Australian rural enterprise has come from changes on the exchange rate, turning a large nominal appreciation of the exchange rate into a real depreciation through this government's policies over time, with a very large reduction of the trade-weighted index from the early 1980s. And it is any wonder that the farm sector used to say, how come we were, particularly in the 70s, efficient producers, but we virtually got very poor incomes? And of course the answer was the exchange rate, because you had no wages policy. The only anti-inflation policy you had was to keep the exchange rate overvalued, to keep imports cheaper. But keeping the exchange rate overvalued made, of course, the exports of the primary producing sector massively uncompetitive. So, Mr Speaker, this, if you like, we know where the National Party stood. Jack McEwen used to run around doling tariffs out while he basically saw a massive decline in the trade competitiveness of the primary export sector. That was a double game he had running for years. Dole out tariff protection at the sort of in the old monkey suit at the dinners in Melbourne. Dole out the tariff protection. I went out on the stump talking to the cockies. don't mention the fact that you're actually knocking their competitiveness into a cocked hat. That's exactly what you did for years until they woke up to you, and now, as a consequence of improved competitiveness, there's no way serious people on the land will consider you, and is it any wonder the farm leadership hold you in contempt?
The honourable member for